you probably should not buy any of the new M3 MacBook Pros. There, I said it. Because it is really easy to get caught up in the hype of a new device. Ooh, look at that shiny new space black color. Wow, look at the difference in that really obscure synthetic benchmark that doesn't actually relate to real life performance. Especially if you already have an M1 or M2 Pro or Max MacBook Pro. It's just like in the Barbie movie when Ken realized that he was Knuff. Your current Mac is Mac enough. I don't know, I'm still working on that, but you get my point. And if you're looking at buying your first ever Pro or Max variant MacBook Pro, Apple has kind of made the latest M3 generation the worst possible value when compared to the previous M1 or M2 generation. But before we get into that, a quick word from the sponsor for this section of the video, Anker. Meet Anker's Soundcore Motion 300. The industry's first and only wireless, ultra cost-effective, high-res Bluetooth speaker delivering home theater-like music experience. With Anker's spatial audio algorithm, you can immerse yourself in an ultra-wide 3D soundscape that fills the room with crystal clear sound. With Pro EQ, you can customize your sound with up to 9 bands, plus it features LDAC codes for crisp audio. And regardless of how you place the speaker, either horizontally or vertically, you always get an optimal playback angle thanks to Smart Tune Adaptive EQ with a built-in gravity sensor. And with an IPX7 waterproof rating, the Motion 300 can handle splashes and even be cleaned with water. And for your convenience, the speaker features a detachable strap for effortless carrying. Motion 300 also has a sleek and seamless metal design that complements any style. And the built-in battery with USB-C charge port ensures you can take your music everywhere you go, with a whopping 13 hours of playtime. So it's the perfect musical companion for your next adventure. So if you want your music anywhere and anytime, grab a Soundcore Motion 300 by clicking the link in the description down below. Okay, so let's firstly look at the insane timeline of the MacBook Pro over the last 2 years. October 2021, M1 Pro and M1 Max are released. January 2023, M2 Pro and M2 Max are released. And just 9 months later, M3 Pro and M3 Max are released. So if you'd purchased a brand new M2 Pro MacBook in October this year, for example, a new laptop just released a few months ago, just 1 week later, your new MacBook Pro is now technically outdated, if you can call it that, and you can no longer purchase it or customize it on the Apple website. There are also rumors going around that the M3 MacBooks have been sitting in storage since July, so they've been ready for a while, but Apple decided to delay their release. Maybe there are M4 Macs sitting in a warehouse somewhere. Who knows? The point I'm trying to make is that Apple seems to be churning out these chips like crazy, and to Apple's credit, we do get a decent improvement from generation to generation. But are those improvements actually noticeable to the everyday person doing real-life tasks? Well, I did a bunch of testing. I started with the cream of the crop, Apple's most powerful laptop chip, the 16-core CPU and 40-core GPU M3 Max with 48 gigabytes of RAM, and I compared it to the M1 and M2 Max with similar configurations. And yeah, look, there are a lot of situations where the M3 Max blows the other chips out of the water. For example, you can compile a large code base 50% faster than M1 Max, or render a 3D image almost 3 times faster than M2 Max with the new hardware accelerated ray tracing. But in a lot of other situations, like the Adobe Suite, for example, or timeline performance while video editing, there's barely any difference. And these are real life workflows like editing a 2D animation in After Effects or playing back a 4K heavily color graded timeline while video editing. Not to mention things like battery life, fan noise, and everyday multitasking, you know, the real world stuff you do 95% of the time, is pretty much identical. I made a video comparing all 3 of the Max variant MacBook Pros, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description below. And if you're looking at the M3 Pro chips instead of the Max, the differences are even less, but full video coming on that soon. So what I'm trying to say is that on paper, you know, there are some pretty big improvements from generation to generation. But when it comes down to probably 80% of real life workflows like editing an image in Photoshop or animating something in After Effects or rendering a video, for example, you're just not going to notice a big difference. And one super important thing that I never really hear mentioned is that even though we get all these new improvements on the M3, like hardware accelerated ray tracing, mesh shading, and also dynamic caching, you're not actually going to be able to take advantage of those new features for quite some time. If you remember back to 2020 when the first Apple Silicon Macs were released, it took a really long time for apps and software to actually become updated and optimized in order to support Apple Silicon. And even 3 years later, even right now, there's still some software and apps out there that have not been updated. I mean, I had to use beta software in my M3 Max comparison video just to get the slightest idea of how much performance improvement ray tracing could bring. I mean, nothing else supported it. So this means even if you buy the latest and greatest piece of Apple Silicon, like the M3, for all the performance improvements, you won't actually be able to take full advantage of these improvements for potentially months or even at all, depending on the app you use. Adobe, for example, is notoriously bad and takes months to update their software. And gaming, for example, is another area. It's gonna take some time for games to adopt ray tracing, if they even bother at all. Now, arguably the most important factor to this whole comparison is of course the price. Let's say you want an M3 Pro MacBook Pro, for example. You can get it brand new from Apple for $19.99 US. Or you can get an M2 Pro MacBook Pro brand new right now from retailers like Best Buy for just $15.99, saving you $400, but also getting you most of the performance of the M3. Now, if you want the Max chip, Apple sells its most powerful 16-inch M3 Max configuration with 16 CPU cores, 40 GPU cores, and 48 gigabytes of RAM for $3,999 versus a used M1 Max model on eBay in good condition, similar top-of-the-line specs, maxed out CPU and GPU cores, and 32 gigabytes of RAM, but for $2,080 US, half the price of a brand new M3 Max MacBook Pro. And like I showed in my comparison video, in certain areas, the M1 Max is half as powerful as the M3 Max, which kind of sounds like a fair compromise, right? Like you pay 50% less and you get 50% less performance. But in many other real life areas, performance is very close, or like multitasking and general everyday usage like emails and web browsing and battery life, it's identical. So overall, don't fall for the hype. It's the same every single year or every time a new chip is released. There's not much point in upgrading your existing M1 or M2 Mac, or even buying the new M3. And I know it can sometimes feel like you're missing out, right? Like you see all these videos from YouTubers like myself, sitting in our spare bedrooms, nerding out and frothing over the latest, 10% improvement in this particular synthetic benchmark and spamming all these videos. But at the end of the day, you just have to remember, if you've already got an M1 or an M2 MacBook Pro, just like Ken and Barbie, it is enough.